In 1962, both nations were rich, but today one's currency is so stable it's the world's safe haven, while the other is battling inflation. How did they diverge? Singapore's prices climbed steadily after 2015, while Switzerland stayed stubbornly flat. No war, no crisis, just two economies built the same way telling completely different stories. For inflation, consumer prices, annual percent, Singapore and Switzerland do not move as one block. The latest available reading puts Singapore ahead at 2.39 signs, while Switzerland sits at 1.06. The useful part is whether the gap widens slowly or opens suddenly. Singapore imports $786 billion worth of goods and services, while Switzerland imports $580 billion. This snapshot isn't the whole story, but it tells us where they stand today, after decades of trade evolution. For imports of goods and services, current US dollars, Singapore and Switzerland do not move as one block. The latest available reading puts Singapore ahead at $786 billion, while Switzerland sits at $580.1 billion. The useful part is whether the gap widens slowly or opens suddenly. Singapore exports $978.6 billion worth of goods and services today, up from $1.1 billion in 1960. Switzerland's exports grew to $675.8 billion from $10.3 billion in 1970. The lines don't cross, they just pull apart. Singapore's foreign direct investment rose from 4.84% in 1970 to 24.7% today, while Switzerland fell from 0.561% in 1983 to 11.6%. One economy grew like a weed, the other, like a tree that lost its roots. Singapore's life expectancy rose from 65.6 years in 1960 to 83.3 today, while Switzerland's climbed from 71.3 to 84.4. The lines don't cross, they run parallel, just a few steps apart. To close the comparison, this chart switches from size to movement for inflation, consumer prices, annual percent. Relative change helps a smaller starting point compete fairly with a larger one. That is often where the most revealing country contrast appears.